I can only say what a beautiful day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Well, my name is George Evenson. You've probably heard of my name before. And this is an unbelievable pleasure for those of us that have worked for the past 6 or 7 years on putting this project together. This just didn't happen. It happened with a lot of effort from a lot of people. And those people, some of them are with us today, and I want to point them out, and I hope I don't miss any of them, because they were the ones that made it happen. We've got our lead carpenter standing right in the front row, Will Roeder. And Steve, where are you?
Right back here.
There, Steve Reed isn't back there, waving the hat. And I want to thank a friend of mine who, together, he and I discovered this beautiful house right back there on that back northeast corner. Jim Mackey. Yes. Jim, take a couple bows. Jim has been an immeasurable amount of help. He's been a real motivation. We also have Mary Gilbert. Mary, are you around here? She's our treasurer. She handles the money. And I guess she's still handling some. Now, who else have I? Oh, and Mary Ann Bennett over here. She's our official housekeeper. And is there anybody? Oh, Jean Remy. Did I say Jean? Jean Remy is here somewhere. I know he's here somewhere. Is there any? Oh, and Nan and Jerry Krause, who have been an indispensable part of our operation since we began the village back in about 2001 or 2. But this place, I'm going to tell you a story that you might not believe. But in my mind, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that was destined to happen. When Jim and I discovered the log house underneath and did examine it carefully, and we got our Norwegian expert here, Alan Pape and Daryl Henning. We had already worked on our village over at the crossroads. And the first building we put up was a schoolhouse, because we got a free schoolhouse from out in Bigness in southern Door County, Norwegian community. We weren't trying to be all Norwegian, but we did. There were a lot of Norwegian immigrants here. The second building we put up was a church. And that church is a replica, 3/4 size replica of the first Christian church in Door County. It was built in Ephraim. It was built by a man by the name of Reverend Iverson, Andrew Iverson. He came from Norway directly. He was a Moravian missionary. When we decided to build the church, there was a debate on what kind of church should we build. Well, went around for a while. There were Lutherans, there were a couple of Moravians, there was a Catholic or two on it. Somehow or other, we decided to put up a replica of the Moravian church from Ephraim. And we did it. And it's very nearly this afternoon. I hope you all go over there and take a look at it. That was Reverend Iverson's church. Now, when we got into searching the records, and as soon as we had some, there goes the program, folks. Thank you. Thank you. We decided, I called on my good friend Mike Gallagher, who is here somewhere. I think he is here, taking pictures. Oh, Mike, there he is, sitting on the tree stump. And we asked Mike to dig a little bit into the Hanson family, because they came here in about 1853, roughly the same time that Iverson came. And it was apparent from the records that we were able to uncover that Iverson and Hanson were friends. Not just friends, but dear friends. United in their religion and united in their nationality. And they would, now when Hanson came up here, he had to build a house for his family because he already had a couple children, another one on the way. So the next thing we find out is that Hanson is living with Iverson up at Ephraim because the weather was brutal and the family, they put each other up. That son was delivered up there and was baptized up there, and also he was baptized, there was another child baptized there. Now when we started researching on this end, what was the most incredible thing about this whole thing is Hanson and Iverson were close, dear friends. Now remember, we just selected the church and we found the house. And once we found that connection, we knew there was something valuable here. Old Iverson used to walk 15 miles from Ephraim down to Sturgeon Bay on Sunday morning to preach the service. And soon Hanson and Iverson decided that what they needed was a Moravian church in Sturgeon Bay. So in 1866, I believe it was, maybe it was 1866, they got together and they built a church, along with the 3 or 4 other members of the community who decided that they would like to have a common church, 3 or 4 denominations. They got about 4 or 5 logs up. Then somebody asked the question, well, who's going to have services here on Sunday morning? Well, we didn't quite know. And it got to be a dispute and a division on the ranks. So both Hanson and Iverson had a little meeting here at the house, I presume, and decided on a strategy. They said, we're going to go to the lady that owns the property on a certain morning, and we're going to decide, we're going to ask her if she'll give us the land. Well, it so happened, the lady was sympathetic. She signed the land over to Hans and to Iverson. While these people were having the meeting on deciding what church it was going to, Hanson and Iverson walked into the room waving the paper, it's ours now. Well, that didn't do much for the community harmony for a while, but nonetheless they won out, and thus was formed the Moravian Church. So Hanson and Iverson together, they worked, and there were others too, that worked to build a church. But the most incredible thing about this is a bunch of random things happened. I mean, we wouldn't have to find that house. We wouldn't have to build a Lutheran church there. But here is old Hanson over here and old Iverson over there. Just a little short walk between each other. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not one of these weirdos, sometimes I feel there's a presence here. I honestly believe that. And that presence helped us to get this job done on time, get the money on time, get the craftsmen on time, and get to the point where Steve Reed was pounding the last nail in the siding 36 hours before this thing started. And Mary Ann was painting the last dabs of the paint on our church, on our back door. You'll notice there's 3 colored doors on this house. There's a red one in the front, the blue one in the basement, and the back door is black. They had trouble saying back, but they could say black. So you go in the black door, you know how to go in. But no, that's part of a Norwegian tradition that I traced in some old book going back from the middle of the last century, written by a woman who's had the immigrant experience. But that's about what we've got to say. That this to me is a blessing, to bring all of you people together It's got to be, I'll bet there's not another group like this in the United States right at this moment that brought together because of an old house and come from so far and so dedicated. And I want to thank you all because it's a great reward for me to be able to stand here and look at you. And always in the back of my mind, I had that dream that someday this was going to happen. And it did. Now, I'd like to have our Lynette, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Well, I'd like to welcome you all here, and thank you for all coming for such a wonderful event. Today we celebrate Norwegian heritage and our family's history. 5 years ago, June 20th, 2009, Mike Gallagher contacted me. It was through my mom, Alice Peterson Casperson's death notice that he chose me. Having no idea what this was all about, I was very surprised at the news of this beautiful house existing and that it was built by one of our great-grandfathers in the 1850s. I couldn't wait to get over here to see it. 3 weeks later, 8 of us cousins took a road trip to meet with George for the very first time. He gave us a very extraordinary tour of the house filled with so much knowledge and stories of Hans Sr. I felt as if George was a long-lost relative, and his passion for this place was and still is incredible today. He had not seen any pictures of Hans Sr. at that time and was anxious and excited to see what our great-grandfather looked like, and I had a picture brought to him to show him. My journey enthusiasm began as well. I was excited to return to digging into our genealogy and sharing it with all of my relatives. Retiring January 2nd, 2014, I found myself engulfed in dedicating to completing all the dreams and tasks that I had envisioned for this day as well. Some of those included completing the genealogy going forward from Hans Sr., putting together a book of the house and our family stories, and finally putting together a DVD of the house pictures and the family photos. I have managed to complete all these tasks so that you can share so they can be shared with you today. I would like to thank all of you that helped with photos, stories, and family information and inspire me to keep plugging away. Thank you also needs to go to our great-grandfather, Hans Sr., for building such a unique home for this family. It stands as a proud symbol of the Norwegian heritage and architecture. Hans Sr., along with our loved ones who have passed away, are with us today. There are angels watching over us, smiling, and feeling mighty proud and elated of the family that we have become. My mother has been an angel on my side from the day I spoke with Mike Gallagher. She has guided me in the right directions throughout this journey over the past 5 years. I found Jennifer Velting back in touch with my mom's brother, Uncle Arthur's children and grandchildren, and reconnected with so many more of you that are in attendance today and many that are not here either. This is a day to be a proud descendant of the Hans Hanson Sr. and the Norwegian heritage. After all, we are grandchildren of Hans Hanson Sr. We can all say we have walked in the footsteps of at least 3 of our grandfathers. Some of us can say 4. Clara Hanson and Henry Casperson were married on these hallowed grounds in December of 1909. It is up to us, to all of us, to keep the legacy growing into the next generations. Our time on earth is very short, many times changed in seconds. Don't wait for another day to say or do something you were intending to do but just never got around to doing. Do it while you still can, in the here and now, and leave no regrets. We also want to thank George Evenson for his dedication and passion, making sure this project was completed and will continue for generations to come. Thank you isn't enough to show our appreciation for all the hard work and hours you have put into this project. On behalf of our family, we would like to make you a forever honorary member of the Hans Hanson family. And present you with these tokens of our appreciation.
Oh my goodness. What does that say? Oh, thank you very much. Counting tape. And a picture.
Mm-hmm. Well, help him unwrap it.
Yeah, you better help me unwrap it. Well, thank you so much.
We have to put this on you.
You'll put that on me?
Yeah.
Thank you. There, you just got it. Well, look at this one. There it is, the original photograph. About 1899 by a local photographer. It was the only studio in Sturgeon Bay. By the name of Hanson.
A special thank you goes to Margaret Evenson for putting up with George's passion on this project, as I'm sure it took him away from home on many occasions. Also, a big thank you goes out to the people who worked on restoring this beautiful house. Daryl Henning for checking it out with George for the first time, Alan Pape, Will Roeder, Steve Reed, Russ Sealer, Bob Ryan, Jim Mackey, Lorraine Selvik, Mike Gallagher, and Marianne Bennett. Lastly, to anyone I have missed, thank you for restoring a legacy to the Norwegian heritage for generations to come. I would like to thank Vicki DeMille, Debbie Hayward, Barbara and Marvin Casperson, Gary Hansen and Donna Kehoe for all their knowledge, ideas, inspiration, and hours of dedication over the last 11 months to make this day become a reality. Please take the time to thank all these members of the committee for putting this all together for the enjoyment of the Hans Hanson family and our guests. Today we have the opportunity to get to know each one better. Think of yourselves back living in the 1860s, having none of the essentials that we take for granted today. Put your electronics, your phones, games, etc. away today, and don't just hang out with the relatives you know and see often just because you are familiar with them. Spend it trying to find the person in your picture, mingling with all those relatives you don't know. Look how many more friendships you will leave here with today. Share your stories, interests, hobbies, and enjoy a wonderful afternoon excitement and socializing. No one sits in a corner at a table alone today. I would never have thought of myself as a spokesperson for our family, but with my angels, I have a passion for this sacred house, our family history, genealogy, and passing it on to all who care to listen and want to know of their forefathers. Someone needs to carry the torch into the future, and I hope that one of my fellow relatives will take on that interest and keep it going. I will always be available for all who want to learn the lineage of our family. I can do that.
Okay, we're moving along with our program. Nice. I just want to just give you one more little fact about the house. That when you're in there walking on that floor, that is the original floor of the original house. So when you're shuffling your feet across that floor, you're shuffling your feet on the same floor that your ancestors walked on. Now it's my pleasure to present to you Pastor Matthew Knapp. Pastor is the pastor over at the Sturgeon Bay Moravian Church, and he's the church as well. They know about this event, and we're so happy that he accepted the tent to dedicate this building.
There's a whole lot of Hansons here. You know, that's pretty amazing if you think about all this as a result of a couple of guys ripping off some boards off an old house. As the pastor of the Moravian Church, 20 years ago, I used to come very regularly onto this property to bring home communion to the current resident of this that was in that, in the house at that time. I had no idea what I was walking into all those years ago. But on behalf of the Moravian Church, I want to thank all of you, because the Moravian Church in Door County would not be here today doing the things that we do to serve God and our community if it had not been for your family, for Hans and all the hard work that he did, not only in establishing the Moravian community, but building the first church that was over in Sturgeon Bay, and he probably had a hand in the one out on Shiloh Road, but we're just so grateful, and we want you to know how much we appreciate you, and we are so grateful for this great celebration today. So at this time, I'd like us to bow our heads and offer a dedication for this incredible gift. We dedicated this restored Hanson House to the people of Door County on behalf of the Door County Historical Society, the volunteers, and all of the supporters for the preservation and future education for generations to come concerning the gift of our historical heritage. And we thank God for the grace that we have received that has brought us together. Amen. Thank you.
Lynette, I think it's your turn to give the directions.
Give the directions? Well, let's plant the tree.
She's pretty good at giving directions, I believe.
We want some tree planters over here that we want to put this tree in the ground.
Got plenty of water. Ready to do this, guys? Lift it up.
You will.
We're going to put some weight on Let's go. Yeah, use me. Let me rake some down. How you doing? Glad to meet you.
Facts of beauty, coloring,
Now we're going to need a little bit more. Here, I got a better angle.
Treble, harmony. These
I want that plug.
No more than that.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's an honor to be here. I didn't have a lot to do with this, but Uncle Marv said that I should come to this. It's a part of the family, and absolutely wanted to be here, so it's a privilege to be here. I want to say thanks to George. This is the first time I've met George, but my family, talking about George, I feel like I do know him. And George, you must be a great man from what I've heard from my family, and I know you are because you are a man of faith. I want to thank you for that very much. Just a quick story. When you come to a gathering like this with family, be careful what you might find, because I was just informed by my wife Diane, who's right over here, that her third generation or third back grandmother married, they believe, a Hanson. And through back in those days it wasn't very popular, but there was a divorce involved, and the grandmother changed the name back to her maiden name. So we could possibly be connected in more ways than just through marriage. So, but we're from the Upper Peninsula, so we're good to go. So it's not a problem. Just want to say how important family is. Using myself as an example, I stepped out of a log truck about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and ran for public office, something totally out of character for what I normally did. Got elected, and I could not have had that happen without my church family and my family. I got two uncles here, Uncle Marv and Uncle Don are here. My dad's passed away 10 years ago. But family got involved, and we pulled off something that really shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, and it was because of the family sticking together. So when family comes together, we can do great things, and certainly you see that here. And so George, thank you. And I have a tribute. I have several tributes. They're both the same. I thought we would leave one here, and George, I want to give you one, if I could. And this is from myself. It's from the state of Michigan. Myself and my state representative signed it. And so I won't read it. We'll have them up here if you want to read it. And I just want everybody to know that we've been in contact with our counterparts down in Wisconsin. They're putting together a tribute that'll get sent here, and I'll make sure George gets that. So we'll get another tribute from the state of Wisconsin as well. So thank you for your efforts, and we really appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.